This live self-defense training video, we're going to talk about 5 brutal hand-to-hand combat self-defense techniques that you can immediately employ. It doesn't matter what kind of training you have. If you have no training, when you practice these techniques, they're so super simple and basic, they work for just about everyone. First one is going to be a palm strike. Taking the palm of your hand, there's an important part that you use. You don't use the whole palm, you use this part right here. Your hand is kind of turned at an angle, and just think about pushing, like doing a push-up on the ground, pushing this up and into his face. When you strike the chin, the nose, your hands can also reach in and dig into his eyes. It's a very brutal self-defense combat, hand-to-hand combat technique. You're just turning your shoulders and hips. Now, to get maximum power in a palm strike, you can use the front hand, you can use the both hands, you can use striking in succession, 1, 2. You can strike over and over again. The idea is pushing an extension all the way through the elbow, turning the shoulders and hips to get more power, and then moving forward with your body by taking a small step. When you take a step and you palm strike at the same time, you're going to accelerate the power of the technique. Now, we can't talk about techniques of self-defense without talking about the basic principles. These are 5 brutal self-defense techniques that come from hand-to-hand combat, but you have to have proper principles of self-defense. Number 1 is always situational awareness. Pay attention to what's happening around you. Number 2 is get your hands up. Put them between you and the threat. Make your body a smaller target. Step back. Hands up. Between me and you, this is called a flinch block. He's coming at you. You're going to flinch behind your hands. Any kind of punch he throws, a swinging punch or a straight punch, a hooking punch, an uppercut, your hands are going to be in the right position to stop him from making contact with your body. Always drop your chin a little bit. Tuck your chin, hands up, stomach up and in, abs tight. Step back with 1 foot. Put them between you and the threat. First technique is a palm strike. Now, the second technique for self-defense, these come from hand-to-hand combat. These are things that I practiced both in the Marine Corps and when I was in the Army, National Guard. I went back in after 9/11, and I taught self-defense to different units. And these are techniques that were very common, that were very well received because they're so easy to do. Starting with a palm strike, the second one is what I call putting the helmet on. Essentially, you're taking the end of your elbow and sticking it right through his nose, his teeth, his throat, into his solar plexus. You might be going into the body, but you're putting your hand here so that if you have to, you can absorb any kind of punching technique. Your hand comes here, you can turn a little bit. If the punch is coming straight, you're turning into it. If it's a looping punch or what they call a haymaker, it's coming around the side, you'll naturally flinch back into it. Now, you're not going to recoil, you're going to enter. You're going to go in, taking your elbow all of the way to your body and drive it right into his face for self-defense. You want to close this distance. Now, from here, we go right into the third hand-to-hand self-defense combat technique, which is an elbow to his throat or to the side of the head or to the jaw. It's called a horizontal elbow strike. Your hand touches the upper part of your chest. Your palm will be facing the ground, either open or closed, doesn't matter. But that's so that this bone here is exposed. You want to smash that through anything that you can hit, right? You put the elbow on or the helmet on, you're going to strike with that elbow in 2 directions. 2 directions, that was 4. 2, you're going to go in and sideways. From here, you can enter with the elbow and then strike with the other elbow. Enter with that helmet, drive the elbow. He might be pushing his hands onto you. One of the best self-defense techniques that you can do if someone's pushing on you is put that helmet on. He goes to push you. Try this with a partner. You put that helmet on and you step in. He can no longer push you. Now you're in firing distance to hit him with that quick, fast, explosive elbow to the jaw, to the temple, to the neck, to the ribs if you're close or you're lower than he is. But you enter here, drive here. You could just put your hands here to make him stop. One of my basic principles of self-defense that I teach everybody in these classes here is someone puts his hands on you, you put your hands on him. There's a reason for that. He puts his hands on you, pushing you back. It's explosive, it's very disruptive. You put your hands here, it's a bracing technique. That means no longer are you going to be shaking around. He puts his hands on your neck, you put your hands on him immediately. From here, you can quickly lean your body as you turn your shoulders and hips and bend. Again, there's that hand, top of your chest, palm facing the ground, comes around this way. These are techniques anybody can use. Doesn't matter your fitness level, doesn't matter your age. Age is just a number anyway. Number 1, palm strike. Number 2, put the helmet on. Number 3, drive that elbow into the side of his face, his neck, or you can drive it straight forward, this whole edge. And when we say elbow on this elbow strike, we're really talking about this bone, the forearm bone, going into his throat. That can be a fatal strike, so don't play around with that. Make sure if you're working with a partner, you go slowly when you practice this strike coming into his throat. You crush someone's windpipe, they'll be dead, right? It's hard to survive that. So this is for self-defense only. This is not street fight, it's not beefing, it's not a schoolyard bully fight. This is self-defense. He's trying to take your life, you're taking away something from him, right? You're gonna take his life. You're using violence against violence. Now these are principles of self-defense married to techniques. Techniques by themselves do not work. You can't expect technique to save you if you don't apply the principles. Number 1 principle, pay attention, situational awareness. Number 2, better position. Step back. I like to step in to close the distance. You could also step back, but that takes your body, and I'm a wide target, and that makes you a smaller target. It also takes your vital organs, your vital spots that he's gonna go for, and pulls them out of his range. Put your hard, bony surfaces between you and him from here to here. Now he's got to get through your guard. Number 3, you're going to ask yourself, what will you remove or destroy? His ability to see, breathe, his ability to think, be awake, going through his nose, going through his teeth, going through his throat, going into his temple, knock him out. These are a question that you ask. That will tell you what technique you're going to use. Are you going to use the palm strike? You're going to use your elbow, put your helmet on. You're going to use the elbow or horizontal strike coming this way. Now the 4th one, and this is one of my absolute favorites of all time. I'm going to show you 2 ways to do it. He's behind you, you sense him or you feel him, or maybe he's already hit you and you're blurred and you have to turn. You immediately see the threat. You're going to step and drive that elbow up and into his jaw, into his head for self-defense. If his hands are on the back of your throat, choking you to death, and you bring your elbow above, you will knock his hands off. He can be the strongest person in the world with the best grip on your neck. If you lift your hand up, his hand will just slide straight off. There's no way he can stop that. You have to bring this elbow up above your shoulder, and you step and you drive. Now you can also, if he's farther back, drive. That's a very brutal hand-to-hand combat technique. The hammer fist, your whole body is swinging. Look at this giant lever that you've got, turning on your soul or your center line through your spine, and by taking that step back and in, make sure you look at him, striking your entire body weight concentrated in that hard, bony fist. So he's behind you, you can step in, hit him with the elbow, he will drop most of the time. Most people can't take all the force, especially if the shot hits him in the head, of a spinning, this is called a spinning back elbow, or a stepping back elbow, or that hammer fist. You can also deliver this into the solar plexus, knocking his wind out, putting that into a spasm. There's cartilage in there that will crush. He won't be able to breathe. If you've ever had that feeling, you know what it feels like, it hurts. Or you can drive that down and into his private parts and smash anything you can. And not one and done, 2 or 3 or 4, coming up, coming down, coming right through the middle. But violence of action. There's another principle of self-defense. First technique is palm strike. Second technique, put your helmet on. Third technique, drive that elbow. Fourth technique, that reverse elbow into any soft part of his body, or it can be his big, bony, thick skull that you step and smash for self-defense. Now, number 5, I always want to throw in a kick these days because you ask me all the time, what about going to the body, going to the leg? And I put this in the brutal hand-to-hand self-defense or hand-to-hand combat self-defense because this does a lot of damage no matter where you hit him with it. And this is called an elliptical kick. This is a front kick, turning as a side kick, or a round kick coming up like this. But this kick, super simple, you don't have to have any training. You simply turn your foot out, and the bottom of your foot, especially when you're wearing shoes, is going right in to his shin. If you hit his shin, you hyperextend that knee, you snap those ligaments in there, he's gonna fall down, or you're gonna break that shin. You can kick into his foot. You just lift and push. From here, just coming straight in. Very little technique here. Just lift. Almost everybody can learn how to do this. Think 2 motions again. Think pick your knee up and push your foot forward. Pick your knee up, push your foot forward. If you're just starting out and you need balance, practice that. This is also a good workout. Practice on both feet. And then if you can, practice with a partner. He's up here, he's putting his hands on you, and you just quick lift that foot, and your whole body weight's coming forward. So however much you weigh, coming to the bottom of your foot, especially wearing hard shoes, and smashing into his chin. From there, you can do the rest of the techniques, right? And knock them out, lights out, fights over, you win for self-defense. Those are just some basic, brutal hand-to-hand combat techniques. Again, these are things that I picked up not just from 30 plus years of martial arts training, but also that I did in the Marine Corps, that we did when I trained with different Army groups. These are very common that you'll find because they're so easy to do. We want to keep it simple, right? There are some really cool jiu-jitsu style or hapkido or aikido, things that I've trained many different ways to defend yourself, but they all require a high level of training. This doesn't require a high level of training, doesn't require anything more than understanding you're going to use violence against violence. When you ask yourself that third question, and I'm going to put the link below, it's Tim Larkin's book, it's called When Violence is the Answer. When Violence is the Answer. You got to get that book and read it if you're serious at all about self-defense, because it clarifies everything and it puts it all in the right perspective, and it proves that it doesn't matter how big you are, how old you are, or how young you are, or how small you are, self-defense is accessible for anybody and everybody, and it works for anybody no matter what the limitations are. When you shift your thinking away from the just plain techniques, but you use techniques with the right principles. I'm gonna put that link below. You guys have been awesome. I will see you in just a little bit. We're gonna do cane self-defense in just a little bit today.